Hello, this is Sandy, and you are in Untame Your Soul and Unleash Your Unlimited Abundance. And I would like to talk to you tonight about trauma, how trauma can affect you subconsciously, how it can actually reprogram you subconsciously, and affect everything else that you do. Hi, Dawn, how are you? Hi, Kim. Hey, Tina. Oh, lots of you guys are here. This is awesome. Hey, Stephanie. How are you girls tonight? All right, feel free to pipe in with questions. I'll check them out as we go. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about trauma first. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. Um, According to Cascade Behavioral Health, which is a really top level, top tier mental health facility, a potentially traumatic event, it doesn't have to be, what people think is traumatic. It just has to be traumatic for you personally. Other people's opinions don't count. It doesn't matter. Um, so trauma can be caused by a singular occasion, ongoing, relentless stress. A potentially traumatic event is anything that you were unprepared for. Okay, so an unprepared for event, something that occurred out of the blue. um, let's see, an event where you felt powerless, and an event that could have occurred repeatedly, like a continuing abuse of some sort. If the event involved extreme cruelty, maybe bullying, or maybe being mistreated by a family member, or even a friend. And especially if this event occurred in your childhood years, that can really do some serious reprogramming issues. Um, and hey, Tamara, how are you? So, this is a difficult topic. So I understand that if this is making you feel uneasy, that's good, because it's triggering you. And those triggers, they kind of awaken our pain points. And the whole purpose of this group is to look at those pain points and figure out how the heck to get rid of them, because it's not healthy and it's not good for you to be living with those pain points in your life at all. It's just not. So, um, those were some personal examples of traumatic things that could happen. You could also be traumatized by something that doesn't just affect you, like a national disaster. We've had wildfires, we've had earthquakes. Hawaii has had volcanic activity. Um, so all of those natural disasters, tornadoes, hurricanes, severe weather events, that counts. Don't discount that. If you've been involved in something like that and it has affected you, that's your traumatic event. Um, you're not competing with anybody else on the level of traumatic events. So if you felt it in your core and it shook you, that's reason enough to look at it and to try to figure out how to let that go. So it could even be, like a violent event, whether you witnessed an act of violence or you had an act of violence committed to you. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be a car accident or a workplace accident. It could be, simply being robbed or having your house robbed, or it could even be an act of terrorism, like 9/11. That was horrible for thousands and thousands of people. So sometimes when we think traumatic event, we think, oh, it has to be major. It really doesn't. Traumatic event can be a breakup. It can be a divorce. It can be a significantly humiliating experience. Like, I don't know, being on stage and forgetting your line, or being completely embarrassed. It could be a surgery. It could be falls or injuries. Mine was a fall. Mine was, when I was bucked off this horse that was scared to death, and it resulted in, it shook my life. And that's my traumatic event. It could be sudden. It could be something that has been building for years and years. It could be the diagnosis of a health issue. And did you know that health issues are also embedded cellularly? And that is something that our attitude, our overall outlook on life affects greatly. Um, the more stressed you are, the more likely you are to be sick. The more likely you are to have a lower immune system. So you catch all of the germs. So um, we can go into that in a different post. Let's see. I'm just checking to see who said stuff. All right. Um, Anything stress inducing can be a traumatic event. But the biggest thing you need to know is that anything that can trigger a traumatic event can put you right back there. And you need to figure out how to deal with that. So first of all, how do you know if you've experienced something that you would classify as a traumatic event? Maybe you're thinking, wow, well, maybe I don't have anything. And that's okay if you don't. That's great if you don't. But here are some different ways it can affect you. So think about these. Cognitively, that's your mind. It could be intrusive thoughts that just kind of pop in out of the blue. It could be nightmares. It could be, flashbacks, visual images of an event. Some people lose their concentration or their memory of things. Some people may feel disoriented. Some people may get confused, have mood swings. I mean, mood swings was a big, big thing with me after my accident. So is the loss of memory and concentration. You could also have behavioral signs of a traumatic event, which is, avoiding places and activities that trigger you. That's why they say, okay, if you're in a car accident, you need to get right back in that car and go, or else you're going to paralyze yourself with fear. That's really true. After my horse accident, I was really afraid to be near horses, and we still owned them. So I had to get over that pretty quickly. And, maybe you have social isolation. You don't want to go anywhere. Maybe you're just kind of holed up at home. You don't go out with your friends, or you ignore phone calls. Maybe you've kind of gone to text messaging only, and then maybe only when you feel like it. Maybe you have a lack of interest. You've lost interest in things you used to enjoy doing. Some kind of traumas can manifest physically, and those traumas that can manifest, those signs of manifesting physical trauma, easily startled, like if you're really jumpy, or somebody who's really jumpy, being tired, if you're tremendously exhausted, if you're experiencing fatigue and you just can't seem to get enough sleep, that could be caused by a previous traumatic event that's still hanging around in your cellular structure, in your subconscious mind, and it's draining you. If you detach from other people, or if you start to detach from emotion and you don't have that same connection that you used to. Emotional numbing, depression, guilt. How many of us have felt guilty about something? Shame, emotional shock, disbelief, irritability, anger, anxiety, and panic attacks. Panic attacks are scary, extremely scary. I had a few of those after I went back to work after about a year and a half after my accident. So all of these traumatic events can wreak havoc in our lives. And hey, Rhonda, how are you? Thanks for joining us. These traumatic events are things that let us know. This is our body's way of letting us know, hey, there's something here in our subconscious that's just not right, and we need to get rid of it. We need to figure out something to wipe the slate clean. We can't hold on to this forever because it's destroying us. So here are some effects of unresolved trauma. This is what can happen when you let it build up inside of you. Substance abuse. I was an alcoholic. I dealt through drinking wine because, one, it was popular. Everything out there said to drink wine. I turned to that, and pretty soon I couldn't stop. So I, rehab, everything later, almost 3 years clean and sober. So that's my story. But that was my effect. I went to substance abuse. And substance abuse doesn't only have to be alcohol or drugs. It can be food. How many of you stress eat? It can be sexual problems. You know, how if you're married or in a relationship, how's that? It could be an inability to maintain a healthy or close relationship with someone. You know, do you have a best friend? Did you and you don't anymore? It could be constant hostility, you know, constant bad mood, constant negative outlook, like you think people are always out to get you. Maybe constantly arguing with people. We talked about social withdrawal before. Constant feelings of being threatened. Maybe paranoia, where you always think somebody's out to get you or somebody's setting you up for something. Impulsive behaviors like shopping, you know, that can be another kind of addiction. Self-soothing through things like that, through shopping, food, alcohol, whatever. Feelings of depression, shame, hopelessness. Just feeling not good enough. Feeling like whatever you're doing is just not good enough. And maybe you've lost your former belief systems. Maybe you don't know where to turn. And maybe, you know, you feel like your world is upside down because you used to believe, you know, one thing and now you're not so sure. Now maybe you don't know what to believe. So there's a lot of different things that we can call trauma. And it's really difficult to pinpoint that and really difficult to talk about that. And our brains are so phenomenal. I learned so much about how our brains work after my traumatic brain injury. And I mean, it's amazing how you can access these pain points. So the whole reason I created this group is to help people access those pain points and figure out how the heck to clear them out of there. So journaling works. And the one thing I want you to think about with art, how many of you guys have ever done any kind of art, you know, outside of public school or wherever you went to school? So a lot of people get really self-conscious when it comes to art and doing their artwork. They become judging of themselves. They have low self-esteem. Sometimes they don't have the ability to believe in themselves that they can do something. All of that stuff comes out in art. What really, yeah, see, absolutely, Kim. Nothing is wrong ever whenever you're creative. Nothing you do or nothing you write down on a piece of paper, nothing you sketch out or draw, no colors that you pick are ever wrong. And one of the things that I like best about healing with art is that it allows us to access our subconscious, and our subconscious then allows us to be creative on a field of paper or a canvas or the sand at a beach, whatever your medium is. So I thought I would start with a really short, fun activity. Maybe not so fun. I don't know. I shouldn't have said fun. But hopefully, you know, you can look back. There'll be a part 2 tomorrow to this, I promise. So what I was thinking I would like you guys to do is draw your burdens. And what I mean by that is, like, imagine yourself, and you can draw yourself as a stick figure or draw yourself as a flower or draw yourself as a little line, you know, whatever you want. And then next to you, I want you to draw your burdens. Okay. And I'm not giving you any more instruction than that, because your burdens look like what they look like to you. There's no right or wrong explanation or expression of your burdens. You can do this in pencil, you can do this in pen, crayon if you have them. You don't need anything fancy whatsoever. And I promise you there is a part 2 to this, but I can't rush you through this, because part of doing this kind of healing, it takes time. You need to focus. Hey, Cheryl, how are you? Thanks for joining. So again, what I want you to do is to think about what traumas you have, what potential things are weighing you down. Even if you don't think that, it counts as a trauma, it does if it negatively affects you. Okay? You need to know that, and it's okay. What I want you to do is grab a piece of paper, and I want you to grab something to write with, and I want you to draw yourself and your burdens, whatever that looks like to you. And that's it. And then I want you to come back here tomorrow about the same time. And about 7 o'clock, 7:30, I'll be on. I'll give you a little bit of notice. But this seems to be a pretty good time. And I want you to really think about what that looks like to you. And if you're not comfortable drawing, throw some words out on that page. Okay? This is you. There is nothing wrong with you or what you put down on that piece of paper. Okay? And there's no sharing, I promise. I'm not going to put you on the spot or screen share anything. It's Facebook Live. I can't do that. So, nor would I. But a third time to repeat, I want you to draw yourself. And then I want you to draw your burdens. And however that looks to you, I want you to create it that way. All right? So that's our first exercise in art. I'm done for now. So if you guys have any questions, I have a couple more minutes. I have another meeting at 8 o'clock, so that's in about 10 minutes. So I can give you guys some time. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay. Hey, Cassidy, I just saw your heart. Thank you. Make sure that you comment so I know you're here. All right. After this is over, I'm going to type up a post again with the activity that I would like you to do, and then follow up with tomorrow. Okay? So happy thinking. Let it process. And oh, you're so welcome, Kim. And just feel it. Okay? All right. Anything you do is wonderful. Everything you do is wonderful. All right. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow here. Good night, gorgeous divas.